I didn't have the friends I had in the program, I probably wouldn't have gotten A's in those classes, but it's a very close-knit group of students there, and we all helped each other with everything. So this is the full model. This was a MediaTek, and it had a park across from it, which obviously you can see we extended the grid into the park. I mean, it was a very ambitious project, and like I said, the model took me 4 weeks. But luckily, I was working with another person on this project, and while I was doing the model and all the renderings, which I was taught to do here, and students at A&M didn't know how to do them, he was doing all the AutoCAD and all the sections and all that stuff. So we built off of each other's strengths, and that was one of the things that was great about A&M is the students were really happy to build off each other's strengths. They weren't like, well, no, I want to build the model. So they're very rational students there. If you're a better model maker, they will let you build it. If you're a better drawer, they'll let you draw it. And then they'll do the stuff that you're not as good at. Like for instance, I wasn't as good at AutoCAD, whereas these kids were just whizzes. I mean, they knew every shortcut, it was incredible. They start them off at AutoCAD freshman year, which I know a lot of schools, they don't do that.
You said that before, that you weren't really well with computers, but everybody else was using computers. Did you ever feel disadvantaged because of that?
No, I was creative. I knew how to, I mean, the teachers there appreciate craft, they appreciate quality. And when they see a kid who has amazing AutoCAD details, but then the model's just this burnt piece of wood that's not connected right, because when they cut it out on the laser cutter, it didn't line up right, they still built it. And then they'll see these hand-drawn sections and hand-drawn renderings with a beautiful model. That's what they like. And of course, you have to be able to talk about it and prove to them why it's better and why your process is stronger than that. But you guys know that. That's what we do every day when we present. So.
On that flip side, did you know anyone that worked in the Viz Lab, and do you have any experience, or can you even talk about any students that went to grad school, their visualization lab?
Oh yeah, the A&M School of Architecture. At A&M we don't have a fine arts school, so that we have a visualization program, and they didn't know where else to put them, so they put them in the architecture school. Well, these kids go on to work for Pixar. They go on to work for DreamWorks. They're the ones who actually do the cartoons. In fact, the only Oscar winner ever to come out of A&M came out from the Viz program, and I think it was The Incredibles that he worked on. And so, I mean, that's another option in the School of Architecture. You have the visualization program. I know a lot of graphics people come out of that too, graphic designers and stuff. Then we have the School of Construction Science, which is probably the leading construction science school in Texas, if not the nation. I mean,
many of y'all just met Mr. Escamilla's, a lot of you, at least in Junior Studio, met him last week. He just got his master's or PhD? Mr. Escamilla here? PhD, and is teaching there in the Viz Lab. And Escamilla is at A&M as well, so you might run into him. But yeah, the construction science, we've had students go through that program.
Going off of Dr. Escamilla, he spoke about tailored studios actually from the A&M program, which actually tailored to certain aspects of architecture, such as stadium design or
for instance, one of the alum came to lecture for us. He was the lead designer for the Dallas Cowboys Stadium, for instance. And A&M does tailored programs. What you have a choice of doing, and you have to decide this your junior year, is you can either take the research track or the studio track. And I always wanted to stay in studio because I felt you need that for your portfolio. But if you want to go into something as specific as stadium design, or let's say I want to, do an intense study of Baroque and Rococo, then you can do the research track. And instead of taking a studio your last 2 semesters as a senior, you take a research lab, and it's practically writing a mini thesis, a mini master's thesis. And you work with a professor, and they tailor the program, what you have to do, and it's all up to you. You decide. But then you have to do a very intense jury your senior year, and it's very competitive. The research track's very competitive. But they do have that. So if you have some specialty, like you really want to just explore deconstructivism of the mid-90s, you have the research track to do that with. And they'll help you tailor whatever project you want to do, whether it's just a normal architecture presentation or whether you're writing a 20-page essay. That could be your thesis too. Like the whole, an Aggie does not lie, cheat, or steal, or tolerate those who do.
There you go. You got it. I mean, I bring that up not out of any, I mean, with all due seriousness, because I'm not an Aggie. I went to UT Austin. I think y'all know a lot of you know something about me. I'm not real conservative in a lot of ways. So it was a little bit of a strange fit, but they completely embraced the time that I had to teach there. And I basically left with kind of what I would call almost profound respect for the fact that you can leave stuff out, nobody ever steals.
Oh, no.
You know, there's a real strong sense of, I would say, ethics, ethical behavior, respect.
Huge ethical
I mean, if you're lost on campus, 3 people, 4 people, 5 people will be asking you, they'll know in a minute. So this kind of tradition there, which, might be a little bit too much for some of us, just on a day-to-day level, which I think Sean, you can hear in his own, from his own perspective, he's not the purest kind of Aggie, but I think he also, you end up being taken care of because you're a part of the culture there, you're a part of the society there. And so I think that honor tradition really permeates the atmosphere. It's really nice to know that you don't have to kind of walk around campus in fear, or leave your your iPhones out and we're going to be there. Yeah, I know you don't even have to walk in anymore. I saw that. But in the day,
I never once locked up my MacBook Pro, not once, ever, and I knew it would be there. I mean, those
are little things, but they're really big things.
It's a form of respect that every Aggie has for every Aggie, and when I first went there, I kind of thought it was cheesy, like all the silly traditions they have. But I'll tell you what, by the time I left, I embraced every one of them because they're there for a reason, and there's a reason they've been there over 100 years and are still going. So it's a very, Aggies respect Aggies, and it's like that at the school, and it's like that once you graduate. And that's why the network, the Aggie network as they call it, everyone that wears these big gaudy gold rings, there's a reason for it, and they look after each other. So,
Asian influence, or there's a lot of different kind of people around the world. So, what's the population like?
Well, A&M, I'm just going to talk about the School of Architecture, like for instance, the graduate school has many Japanese, many Chinese, a lot of different Asian students, a lot of Mexican nationals are in the graduate program. The undergraduate is much more local Texas kids. That's kind of what they like in the undergrad school, or kids from Texas, wanted to go to A&M. It's not as diverse as like a University of Texas, but then again, it's not Austin, Texas either. I think the whole "Keep Austin Weird" thing. They make bumper stickers in College Station that say "Keep College Station Normal." So, there's a different mindset. It's much more conservative, but there's also, in the Biz program, the Biz kids are the most diverse group of kids you'll ever meet. They're like the crazy computer guys. They're the ones who do the crazy animations, and they're a lot of fun. And being able to work with them, like having them in the School of Architecture, and you can collaborate with them, it's a fantastic thing. Then again, the super conservative construction science school, it's great to collaborate with them too, because they can teach you things you had no idea about. Same with the landscape kids, and to have all these schools in the same building, it's a great thing, because collaboration really is encouraged. So
what are you currently working on right now?
Well, I just finished my internship with the Corps of Engineers, and I'm actually interviewing with a company called Tidewater, and I'm going to be, if I get the job, I'll be an environmental construction management specialist. It's a big title, but the reason I'm taking that route is because there's just not a whole lot of money right now in architecture to be made. I hated to do it, but when I graduated from A&M, I had 2 offers in New York. Really good, really amazing firms. I had recommendations from my professors at A&M. That's how I got the jobs. I found out they were going to offer me $28,000 a year to live in New York City. No, that's not happening. I'm sorry. That's it's not going to work out. And so I turned them down, and it was hard to turn them down because that's the dream of every architect: go to New York, become a designer, be with the best designers in the world. But I think the route I took was the smart route, because I've been able to make money since I've graduated. I've been able to learn what actually happens on a construction site, because you'd never it doesn't matter what school you go to, you never know until you're actually on the construction site and know what's happening, and know how the contractors act with the architects, how the architects act with the engineers, how the owners act with everyone, how the users act with everyone. I mean, it's a process that you can only experience on site. So that's why I did that. And
can you describe exactly what your responsibilities are with that position?
well, with the Corps of Engineers, we are kind of construction managers. We make sure the contractors are building the building to the government specs. And the government specs are intense. I've never seen more intense construction documents in my life because there's so many regulations, especially the hospitals. The Child Development Center we built was a nightmare because there's like, a million, there's like a book this thick on regulations for, there can't be any corner in the building, the toddlers have their own toilets that have to be, this many inches off the ground. I mean, it's insane. And, you have to have fall safety floors, so special lining underneath the carpet for the kids who, so they can fall safely. The regulations were intense, and what we did is, as being the voice of the government on the construction sites, we were kind of policemen in a sense, is we made sure the contractors weren't, getting cheap materials, they were getting the materials they were contracted to get. But we also made sure that the users were happy. We would have to take the users on tours of the construction process, and they'd be like, oh my gosh, that color blue is not what we asked for. We wanted a sky blue that looks like a periwinkle, so we'd have to deal with the clients, and it was really incredible being able to see every side of what in school they teach you're just a designer, and you can be as creative as you want, and that's what you can do. It's in real life, no. Everyone has a say. The person paying for it has a say, the government has a say, the users have a say, the owners have a say. And it's unfortunate, but that's just how buildings get built. And that's why there's so many boring buildings. It's because of all these regulations. But it's part of the process that I needed to learn. Because if I'm going to practice architecture, I want to know how not to piss off the contractors, and, all that, and vice versa. So.
Do you think you're going to be able to get into architecture again, or?
Oh yeah, well no, the only reason I'm doing this is to make money.
Oh.
In 2 years, and I'm getting, as Ms. Haynes told me, I'm getting credit hours for it too, to go towards my,
Okay.
And so as long as you're working with a licensed engineer, or
Licensed engineer
in a construction company, or a company like the Corps of Engineers, those hours will count.
There's a limited amount of hours that you can do with them, but you can get credit for working for a contractor, a licensed contractor.
And once I work for about 2 years, I'll be able to pay probably 80% of my grad school off, which is kind of a big deal, because grad school is very, very expensive
So
now.
that's your planning right now. You're paying for grad school.
Yep.
So what are you making? Versus the 28,000. If you don't, just for these kids, I don't care.
For instance, if I get this job with Tidewater, I'll be making. Now, like I said, it's hard to turn down New York, but not really. Not really. When you're actually making a living, out of college, it's an amazing thing because this economy sucks, as we all know, and it's hard to make money now. So.
Do you have enough?
Y'all just answered it, actually. It's the hour.
So.
Anybody else?
Anyone else?
You got a minute?
Oh man.
Nothing else.
Could you say again, why did you take the ATM?
What? I'm sorry.
Why did you take the ATM university?
Yeah, why did you end up going to A&M? You applied to 7 places and you were accepted elsewhere.
Because they accepted every credit. They're the only school to accept every design credit. And then actually seeing the facilities was pretty nice too. I was originally going to go to Savannah College of Art and Design, but
I remember that.
But finding out the cost of A&M and how inexpensive it is, combined with the networking, combined with the accepting all my credit hours, it's kind of a deal I couldn't pass up. And I knew I could always go out of Texas for my master's, which I plan on doing.